Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to the official patch notes for Wild Rift patch 4.4. We got 24 whole pages to go through in these patch notes, and we have a lot of changes. Now, interestingly enough, there are no champion changes in this patch at all. I guess it's because all of the updates to the map, the updates to items in general, they probably want to see how the meta goes over the next 2 weeks and then make champion changes later on down the line. I think that's totally okay. Let me know what you think. But a big thing is that this update is already in the game. Just go over to your app store, update the game, and you can go from there. I'm already in the game. I'm already in the update. It was supposed to come out on the 25th of October, but it's the 24th of October. It's already out in game. So make sure you go ahead, update in the app store, and let's head straight into the patch notes. We've got new champion Fiddlesticks coming out tomorrow. This will be live at midnight. I already done a full Fiddlesticks guide. I already have the full description of every single ability and everything like that. I'll probably leave the link down in the description if you want to head over there. And if you want to check out the full Fiddlesticks guide that I did, it will show you combos, how to build Fiddlesticks, tips and tricks, and everything like that. So that's pretty cool. We got the new Wild Pass, which you'll be able to get the Psychic Detective Echo, which looks like probably one of the best Wild Passes skins I think that we have had since release. Supervillain Jin is also pretty good, but Psychic Detective Echo looks absolutely incredible. So yeah, new Wild Pass, you get to unlock some more stuff. Pretty nice. New rank season is going to be on the 27th of October, which is at 8 a.m. CST. So it'll be like AM time for Europe, which means it'll be probably late night, early morning for America in general. But yeah, 8 a.m. CST for that. That will be the new rank update, and you'll be able to get Glorious Ash, be able to get all the updates. I'm curious when Legendary Queue is going to be open. It's probably going to be 2 weeks after the 27th of October, like it normally is. So I'm guessing it's going to be like the first 2 weeks of November or somewhere around that time. Normally it's like 2 weeks afterwards. New game mode, we have the arena mode 2v2v2, which is coming out on the 10th of November. So it won't be coming out on day one, it will be coming out a couple of weeks later. Again, I did a full video on the arena mode talking about what changes there are compared to PC League, what the mode is like, everything you need to know. Again, I'll probably link that down in the description if you want to head over there and take a look at a full in-depth guide into arena mode and what it's like and how it's going to play on Wild Rift. But that'll be available on 10th of November, again in a couple of weeks time. Additionally, we added some Easter eggs for you that you can trigger in some modes, so keep an eye out and let us know what surprises you encounter. No idea what this is, but okay. I mean, cool. I mean, I guess this is all to do with the anniversary event. They're probably doing some cool little things. Quality of life changes. We added new rank rewards for guilds, as well as making some adjustments to length of guild seasons. Cool. I don't think anyone uses guilds, to be honest with you. I don't remember the last time I used guilds, to be fair. You can also customize the page you share with your friends after each game. Cool. We've had a new champion scored reward system. The system will grant you a champion score protection card when your highest champion score record in the season reaches 4,000, 6,000, 8,000 and 10,000. Okay, so it just means that you can get more champion score, I guess. So I guess this means when you lose a game, you get a protection card, so you don't actually lose points. But I don't remember you losing champion score points anyway. I'm pretty sure you always gain points. I don't know how that's going to work. We'll have to check. Obviously, when we get in game, we'll have to check how that works. You could use this card to recover 50%. Oh, yeah, they go. 50% of the points deduction from the champion score after a loss. There we go. You could use it if your champion score you cannot use if your champion score exceeds 10,000, and if you have a negative behavior in game and only available in ranked and legendary queue. Okay, fair enough. I mean, so it's just like you get to recover 50% of the points deduction. So normally you get a lot of points for a win and you don't get as many points for a loss, but I'm guessing this means you just get more points for a loss. I've also adjusted the champion score growth rules for legendary queue in the new season. I think at the moment you need a minimum of 400 champion score. Maybe this means that they'll increase the champion score for legendary queue. Again, this is very vague. They haven't actually said too much. Again, we'll probably have to wait until legendary queue comes out to see actually what the changes are going to be. Events, Coca-Cola Players 1 event. This is the anniversary event. There's been like a whole bunch of events with Coca-Cola at the moment. There was like really cool event in Brazil. They're now gonna have an in-game event as well, which is going to be available on the 25th of October. And also the anniversary event as well. It's not a party without some presents. So yeah, there you go. Happy 3rd year anniversary to Wild Rift. Anniversary event will begin again on 25th of October at midnight. So yeah, both two new events come in on the 25th of October. No events for Fiddlesticks. I think this might be one of the first times that we've had a new champion, but with no event related to the champion. I guess it's because it's just an unlucky timing that the 3rd year anniversary is the same time as Fiddlesticks coming out. So obviously they want to do like free stuff to give away and things like that for the event. So probably is that. Right, gameplay changes. Obviously mages were a big talking point in the preview. There's a bunch of new items, item updates and everything like that for mages. But also they've done a few base changes you can see here as well. It says, we noticed that some mages have not been performing, and this patch I wanted to focus on showing them some love and helping them shine. Our main goals with our adjustments were to give them more survivability and mobility. So pretty much every single mage is getting movement speed. Oh, even Janna's getting movement speed, even though she doesn't really count as a mage. Even Janna, even supports are getting movement speed as well. Okay, that's quite interesting. I mean, this is pretty insane for Janna because she already gets a bunch of movement speed anyway from her passive. So that's just going to be even more. Lilia, Lulu, Lux, Morgana, Nami, Orianna. So basically all the AP mages pretty much are getting a movement speed increase to 340 or 345. Some even 350. Vex is 350 movement speed now. Seraphine 350, Nami 350. Again, Nami gains movement speed anyway. Some of these movement speeds are kind of nice, but yeah, just base movement speed increases, nothing too crazy. And wind up cast time. So the wind up before casting some mage champions abilities will now be shortened as they build and gain more ability haste. Now, wind up time is basically how fast the ability comes out. So like Ahri's first ability, for example, you know, there's a speed at which Ahri's first ability goes out that will be decreased, and it will be quicker to cast the ability if you build ability haste. So there's a bunch of abilities here, you know, Ahri's first ability, Annie's first ability, Brand's abilities, Karma, Kennen, Lilia, Morgana, Nami ulti as well, I guess gets faster now. That's pretty insane. Orianna, Seraphine as well, first ability, which would be pretty nice. Soraka as well. So basically, every time you build ability haste, your abilities are going to be getting faster. This is kind of similar to, I believe it's Jinx's second ability. There were some AD champions that they basically said the more attack speed you have, the faster the wind up time is going to be, or the faster the cast is going to be. That's basically the same as wind up time. So yeah, Jinx, faster second ability cast on higher attack speed. Mages, higher ability cast or faster ability cast on when you build ability haste. So it's quite a few champions here to take a look at. Twisted Fate as well, Veigar and Ziggs. I think Ziggs is going to be disgusting, by the way. Imagine building so much ability haste and your bouncing bomb's going to be faster and your Mega Inferno bomb. I think that is pretty insane, to be honest with you. I think that's pretty crazy. Mobile cast adjustments. I'm not too sure. There's no descriptions or anything here. I don't really know what it means by mobile cast adjustments. I mean, there's the patch notes that were given to me by Riot, but there's nothing here. It just has some abilities, but it doesn't have a description. Unless it's something similar to wind up cast adjustments. Maybe these also get reduced in cooldown by buying something or by getting a stat or something like that, maybe. I'm not too sure, because it says mobile cast adjustments, which most of the time mobile means mobility. Mobile normally means mobility, like, you know, walking faster or faster movement speed, you know, that's being mobile. But these don't really relate to that, to be honest with you. So I'm not too sure. We'll have to see what this means. Maybe there'll be more in the official patch notes when they come out. New items. Obviously, I've covered pretty much all the new items already. There are some changes to the items which I need to talk about that I've realized when I've updated patch 4.4. But I'll quickly go through all of these anyway. Again, I did a whole in-depth video about all the new items, you know, running through every single item, all the item changes in a lot more detail. But I'll quickly go through all these anyway, and I'll just give my brief you know, ideas and what I think the item, how good I think the item is going to be. A Crown of the Shattered Queen. I think this is going to be an insane item for AP Assassins. It's also probably going to be built on AP Mages as well. Probably as like a 4th or a 5th item, because it's a very good defensive item for AP Mages. Also just a very good item overall for Assassins, because you get a lot of ability power and also you get that survivability. So it costs 3,000 gold, 150 maximum health, 70 ability power, 200 maximum mana, 10 ability haste, and 7% magic penetration. The build path is Lost Chapter and Hextech Alternator, which is a new tier 2 item. And you have 2 passives. So the Safeguard passive is you grant a spell shield that blocks the next enemy ability. So this is basically the same as Banshees, which Banshees has now been removed and replaced with Crown of the Shattered Queen. However, when the shield is broken, you also reduce incoming damage by 70% for 1.5 seconds, and this is on a 40% cooldown. This is pretty big. Not only do you get a shield that will block the next CC ability that comes towards you, or the next hostile ability, you know, say it's something like Nautilus Ulti, Nautilus Hook, or something like that, but also if you take damage within 1.5 seconds after the shield breaks, you also take 70% reduced damage. 70% is a very high number. That only leaves, like, say for example, one ability does I don't know, one ability does 100 damage, for example. You're now only going to be taking 30 damage from that ability instead of 100. That's a big cutoff. Obviously the time is not really that that long. It's 1.5 seconds, but still, it's absolutely insane. Also, 40-second cooldown is very low, and if you think 40-second cooldown was also low, you also have the Poise passive, which provides you 20 ability power while safeguarded, so you can go up to 90 ability power when you're safeguarded and when you basically block the shield. And if you deal magic damage to enemy champions while using an active ability, it will reduce Safeguard's cooldown. Now, there is no cooldown on this at all. You can play someone like Orianna, you can spam your abilities over and over again, and that will reduce the cooldown of Safeguard every single time. It's absolutely insane. You can get Safeguard down to like a 20-second cooldown, sometimes even lower than that. If you have a champion that can spam abilities, use your abilities a lot, someone like Orianna that has very low cooldowns, you just want to keep spamming your abilities over and over again. As long as you hit an enemy champion, you're going to be reducing that cooldown, which means you're going to get the spell shield back up again. You're going to get the reduced damage back up again. And this is why this is going to be strong on AP Assassins and also AP Mages, because you're able to just get that shield very quickly and a lot of the time throughout most of the game. Chem Pump Chainsaw, this is the new, I guess you could say, new Mortal Reminder and new Bruiser item, which allows you to apply Grievous Wounds and get the little bit of anti-heal. 2,800 gold, 200 maximum health, 40 attack damage, and 10 ability haste. Builds from Warhammer and Executioner's Calling. And as you can see here, dealing physical damage to enemy champions applies 50% Grievous Wounds. I think even if enemy champions don't have that much healing, even if they have a little bit of healing, I still think this item is crazy good in terms of stats. You know, 2,800 gold, 200 maximum health, 40 AD, and 10 ability haste. Like, these stats are already crazy good for a 2,800 gold item. If you just relate this to any other items, it's just absolutely incredible. So these are really good. I really like this item. And also just having a bruiser item that has Executioner's Calling and Grievous Wounds, I think is great for bruisers in a Baron lane. You know, you don't need to build Mortal Reminder anymore. You don't need to build the percent armor pen. You just go for this bruiser item. You're going to get a bit more health, a bit more attack damage, and also a bit of ability haste. So really nice item. Really like the addition of this. A Hextech Alternator, obviously the tier 2 item, costs 1,400 gold, 25 ability power, 150 maximum health. Again, this builds into Crown of the Shattered Queen. Also an Amplifying Tobe, Ruby Crystal, and then 400 extra gold. So nothing too crazy there. Damage abilities and powered attacks against champions deal a little bit of bonus magic damage. So you get a little bit of extra damage when abilities and powered attacks hit enemy champions with Hextech Alternator. So a little bit of extra damage with the tier 2 item. I think it's pretty decent. Yeah, I think it's like one of the most expensive ones. So 1,400 gold is a lot for a tier 2 item. Probably one of the most expensive tier 2 items in the game right now. Magnetic Blaster. This is the Static Shiv plus Rapid Fire Cannon build into one item. I think this item is going to be pretty nuts on some champions. the way you compare it to Static Shiv and Rapid Fire Cannon is the gold cost is 2,900, so it actually costs 100 more gold than Static Shiv and Rapid Fire Cannon that both cost 2,800. You get the same stats, 25% crit chance, 35% attack speed. The build is very, very similar, if not the same. You still get the movement speed, but then you have like two passives now. So you have the Energized passive, which is generates energized attacks from movement and basic attacks, which is the same obviously as Static Shiv and Rapid Fire Cannon. But this is where both the passives come into play. So this part here is Rapid Fire Cannon. So energized attacks that generate 25% faster, and you gain 25 attack range, 50 range for melee attacks. So that is the Rapid Fire Cannon passive, and then this is the Static Shiv passive. So, and you also deal 50 to 120 bonus magic damage, and the damage can bounce to 5 nearby enemy champions and can critically strike. I think this is a lot better than going Static Shiv and Rapid Fire Cannon. Not only is the item going to give you both the passives, but it also opens up another item slot that you can build another item now instead. So I think champions like Caitlyn are going to use this very, very well. She already has crazy attack range. She already has great attack speed. So yeah, overall, it's going to be an absolutely insane item for Caitlyn. I'm not too sure about other champions. Might have to test it on some other champions. Maybe champions like Tristana might use it pretty well with her crazy attack range as well. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think this is a lot better than both Rapid Fire Cannon and Static Shiv, because both of them weren't really that great in the previous patch. Medjai's Soul Stealer. Big thing about Medjai's Soul Stealer is that this is a tier 2 item. Now, this is a mid-tier item. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot get your Kai'Sa upgrade with Medjai's. I guess Riot watched my video. They watched my patch video of all the items, and they saw my trick with Kai'Sa with being able to spend only 1,500 gold to get an upgrade. And Riot were probably like, yeah, we probably shouldn't do that. So this is now a mid-tier item and will not work with Kai'Sa's passive. I just wanted to say that before I get into the item. So the total cost is 1,500. 100 health, 30 ability power, 7% magic pen. The item overall is pretty good, you know, amplifying tome plus 1,000 gold. So 30 ability power and 100 health is already pretty good for 1,500 gold. But this glory passive is a very high risk, high reward passive. So you gain glory stacks when engaging in taking down enemy champions, up to a maximum of 30 stacks. And you lose 10 stacks on death. So if you die 3 times, if you have maximum stacks, you lose all the stacks. Melee champions gain 3 stacks for champion kills and 2 stacks for assists. Ranged champions gain 4 stacks for each kill and 2 stacks for each assists. This doesn't actually tell you. Oh, it does here. Oh, it's the second passive. So you gain 5 ability power for each stack of glory and 10% bonus mobility once you reach at least 10 stacks. So 5 ability power points for each each stack of 30 stacks. So you can get like, I don't even know how much that is, like 150. You can get 150 extra ability power. Like this could go up to 180 ability power. Like what? Like if you get max stacks, you get 180 ability power for 1,500 gold. That's pretty insane. Obviously, very high risk, high reward. Obviously, you need to make sure you get takedowns. You need to make sure you don't die, because if you die, you might lose all your stacks. So again, very high risk, high reward. But I think this item coming into Wild Rift is going to be super, super exciting for a lot of champions, and I think a lot of players as well, because I think players like this sort of high risk, high reward factor that helps you and benefits you for taking risks in a game. So I think it's going to be very cool. Ocean's Trident, again, another great item coming into Wild Rift. This is going to be a anti-shield item for AP mages. Only costs 2,600 gold, which, by the way, is very, very cheap. It's one of the cheapest AP items in the game. And not only that, it gives you 200 maximum health, 80 ability power, which is only 5 less ability power than Luden's Echo, for example, and only 20 less ability power than Death Cap, which is like the strongest AP item in the game. 10 ability haste, 7% magic penetration. It builds from Blasting Wand, and Haunting Guise. You can see here the lethal weapon. So dealing ability power damage to enemy champions, reduces any shielding they gain for 3 seconds. You can read the rest as well. When you damage an enemy champion who is unaffected by lethal weapon, all shields on them are reduced by the same value. So really incredible. Being able to buy a reduced shielding item now for AP mages is huge. The only way the anti-shielding was a thing in Wild Rift beforehand was Serpent's Fang, which is only really an assassin item. Even AD carries don't even build the item. So the only way you can actually counter shielding champions is playing assassins. Now you can play mages, and now you can build this item as well, which is got to be completely busted since it's only 2,600 gold and you get 80 ability power. Gonna be pretty nuts. Ring of Revelation, new starting item, only costs 400 gold and you get 10 ability haste. I don't know why this has a build path here. This doesn't have a build path. But Ring of Revelation base stats, this is just all you need to know. 400 gold, 10 ability haste. This builds into Sheen. So you can build this into Sheen now, and also many other items. I think you have to build this to go into Archangel Staff and some other items, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know Archangel Staff is one of them. Surgeon Scales, new tier 2 item, 1,300 gold, 40 armor, double cloth armor plus 300 gold. And then you gain 20% slow resist while in combat against enemy champions. I don't think this item is going to be too important. But this does build into Twin Guards, Amaranth's Twin Guards, and Dead Man's Plate. So two of the strongest probably tank armor items at the moment have to build into Surgeon Scales. So you'd probably be building this item most games. Item changes. In previous patches, we've seen that some items are too expensive to build. Even if you're farming well on your first back, you aren't able to pick up your first full item. Yeah, that's kind of obvious. That's also because boots are very powerful. I don't think this is because items are too powerful. This is because boots are too powerful. Like Gluttonous Greaves and Boots of Mana are way too powerful at the moment. So it's a lot better to go for boots rather than building a full item, which delays your build and power spike. So our goal for these adjustments is to give you a smoother build path. Additionally, we wanted to take a look at some of the marksman items. While we're happy with the changes we made in marksman a few patches ago, we want to give them a few more adjustments to make sure more items are viable, while also combining some of the effects in different items. Cool. Amaranth's Twin Guards, you now build into Surgeon Scales, as I just said, you know, Surgeon Scales and Negatron Cloak, which is still fine. Archangel Staff now gets % magic penetration. The reason why all these items are getting % magic penetration is because Void Staff is being removed. You can see somewhere. There you go, removed items. Banshees, Lord Dominic Scars, Rapid Fire Cannon, Stack Shield, Voice Empress, which is a tier 2 item, and Void Staff. So yeah, that is why all these items now are getting % magic pen. New build path as well. So yeah, as I said, Archangel Staff, now you build Ring of Revelation, which is kind of nice because you don't have to sit on a lot of gold now. You can just, you know, be able to get this instead, which is kind of cool, kind of nice. So you can just get an extra bit of ability haste early on. Waker Soul Stealer, again, plus 7% magic penetration. Also a build path update. Oh yeah, this is the other item that you have to build Ring of Revelation as well. This is another item. So again, like all of this now is a lot lower. This is what I guess this is what they mean by it's really hard for you to get your first item because the combined gold is a lot. But now it's only 800 and 600, which is quite nice. BS Sword build path, double longsword instead of one longsword. This is great. You don't have to sit on 1,000 gold now to try and build BS Sword. You could build double longsword instead and then only build 500 gold to combine this into BF Sword. Really nice. Black Cleaver changes. You now can build an extra longsword, which is quite cool. Phase Rush, Kindle Gem, and extra longsword. Again, you only have to sit on 500 gold now instead of sitting on 1,000 gold like you did before with longsword. Bloodthirster is probably going to be the most broken ADC item in the next patch. It's going to be absolutely insane. The Bloodswarm passive, the old shield is now gone. So Lifesteal Overheal is now completely gone. You now gain 11 to 25 attack damage and 15% attack speed when your health is above 50%, which is most of the time very likely on AD carries. Very, very likely on AD carries, because not only are you going to be above 50% most of the time, but even if you lose HP, you got Gluttonous Greaves and Bloodthirster to heal you back up to 50% very, very quickly. So I think this plus Gluttonous Greaves is going to be broken on most, if not all, AD carries. Yeah, and you gain more attack damage and attack speed as well on an item, by the way, that didn't change in combined cost. It didn't change in total cost. The build hasn't changed as well. So I think that this is going to be an absolutely crazy good item. Yes, the Overshield heal was quite nice, but most of the time you just didn't really, you know, you didn't really get benefit out of this anyway because this shield decays over time. But yeah, this item is going to be incredible. Cosmic Drive, again, % magic penetration added. Crystalline Reflector is basically a new item. They've kind of changed this into a more tanky AP item now. So you get a little bit maximum health, you get a little less armor, and you get no ability haste. They're kind of making it a tank item because now you can build it with, now you get a little bit maximum health. Seeker's Arm Guard, Haunting Guys, plus 900 gold. The old passive is now gone, and now you gain the Mirror Shard for 3 seconds each time while casting champion abilities, and the duration time of the fragment cannot stack. So now you can't stack this up to 3 times. So the passive is kind of weaker, but then during the fragment's existence, it blocks 8 to 15 physical damage, which I believe is more than before. In terms of base value, it's more than before. And also you deal 10 plus 3% ability power, and now it scales with bonus health as well. So before it was 20 base damage plus 10%, so that has been decreased. So now it's 10% plus 3%, but now it scales with bonus health magic damage. Sorry, so now it scales with bonus health. I don't know why I read the magic damage part, but now it scales with bonus health as well. So the more bonus health you have, and you have to remember bonus health is from items, so you have to make sure you build other tank items that build health. It can be really good. So champions maybe like Caston can work with this really well because he builds Rod of Ages, or pretty much any champion that builds Rod of Ages will benefit from this a lot because you get a lot of bonus health, so you're going to be dealing more damage with Mirrored Force. But obviously most of the time you only really build this against champions that are building a lot of attack damage. Death Stance no longer is on minions and monsters. They said that we've seen some instances where the bleeding effect from Cauterize on monsters and minions would interrupt players recalling. So now they're just making the item a little bit more beneficial. So quite nice. You won't be able to take the damage over time anymore from minions. It will only be from champions. So even if you're taking damage from minions, you can still, look to go back to base. You don't, because at the moment, when you take damage from minions, you have to wait a few seconds for the damage over time to stop, and then you can recall. That will no longer happen. Again, it will only happen if you take champion damage, you'll get that damage over time. So quite a nice change. I think this is a really, really nice change, actually, for Death Stance. Again, it doesn't work on minions and even monsters in the jungle as well, so you can even build this on some champions in the jungle. Build path update for Dead Man's Plate. As I mentioned, it now builds in from Surgeon Scales, and the Moon Plate is still the same. So again, exactly the same thing. Edge of Night build update. You now can build into an extra longsword, and now the combined cost is only 550. Harmonic Echo, this is the other one that's Ring of Revelation as well. I knew there was a support item, I just couldn't remember what it was. But again, Harmonic Echo, Ring of Revelation, and it's only 700 gold combined cost. So this whole thing about making items, making you trying to buy first items, you can see that all of this, they're reducing the combined costs that you need to upgrade the item into the full tier 3 item. This doesn't mean they're making the items cheaper. They're just adding new tier 3 and tier 2 items in that you can build instead of building a full item. So people will still go boots to the first item, most likely. Haunted Guys, they reduced the cost a little bit, and they reduced the maximum health just to make this a bit of a cheaper item. Maybe this was too powerful at the moment. So they're reducing the maximum health and reducing the cost. Hex Drinker, the total cost is now 1,100. However, you get more attack damage but less magic resist. This is kind of cool. I think this is kind of all right, to be fair, because now you can build from it from Longsword as well. I believe before it was Negatron Cloak that you had to build into Hex Drinker, but now it's Longsword, which I think is a lot better in my opinion. It's like Longsword into Hex Drinker to get the 20 magic resist. I think it's going to be very, very powerful. So it's quite nice. Obviously, doesn't have the lifeline passive anymore. Hopefully that'll be a bit later on of what's actually changed with the full item, more of Mortius, because this is what Hex Drinker builds into, but basically more Mortius has also changed. Horizon Focus, again, plus 7% magic penetration. Hullbreaker has increased in health and increased in gold cost, so it's going to be a little bit more expensive now to build Hullbreaker, but you get a little bit of health to benefit from that. Infinity Orb, plus 7% magic penetration. The big thing about Infinity Orb, and also what I forgot to mention about Awakened Soul Stealer, is that they're keeping the flat penetration on both of these items. So that flat plus 15 or plus 10 magic penetration is still staying on these items. And they're also getting the additional plus 7% magic penetration on top. So these two items are going to be very, very powerful next patch for AP mages and also AP assassins, because you get the flat pen and also you get the percent pen on top of that. So it's going to be very, very strong. Drawn's Fist, they're just reducing the gold and reducing the maximum health. Again, another tier 2 item was maybe a bit too powerful. It was very strong, to be fair, from what you got. Last Whisper, they're increasing the gold of Last Whisper. However, you now get 15% armor penetration from Last Whisper. So if you need a little bit of armor pen, maybe in the early game, if you want armor pen earlier on, you can get an extra 5% armor pen now for an extra 200 gold, that you need to build into Last Whisper. Leandri's Torment now gives you 250 health instead of 200, and also it now you now get the magic penetration ratio. Haunting Guise, Blasting Wand, and have extra ruby crystal. So that extra health that you get from Leandri's Torment now was so that they're allowed to add the ruby crystal in to make the combined cost again cheaper. Lichbane, again, percent magic penetration being added. Aether Whisper, Sheen, plus an amplifying tome. So you can build an extra amplifying tome now for Lichbane, which is quite nice. Lost Chapter, again, the tier 2 item. Reducing costs, increasing in maximum ability power, but now you lose the ability haste. I think this actually makes the item stronger, in my opinion. I don't think the ability haste is that effective in the early game when you're buying Lost Chapter as a tier 2 item. I think getting wait, hold on, maximum ability power 150 to wait, I don't think this is maximum ability power. I have a feeling that this is not maximum ability power. I'm not too sure what this is. Does it have a passive? I can't remember off the... Wow, that's really bad of me. I can't remember. Maximum ability power. I don't think this is maximum ability power because the item didn't have 150 ability power, that's for sure. Maybe this is HP or something, or mana. Oh, this might be maximum mana. I'm pretty sure this is maximum mana. Yeah, they're changing the mana from 150 to 200. Yeah, I remember now checking on the beta server. This is wrong. So this is not max ability power. This is maximum mana. Then it's 150 to 200. So you get more mana in the early game now, but you lose the ability haste. Again, I think that's totally fine. Une's Echo now also has the percent magic penetration ratio, Lost Chapter, Blasting Wand, and now Ring of Revelation. So another item that builds into Ring of Revelation now. Mantle of the 12th Hour, as I mentioned before. Surgeon Scales and Negatron Cloak. More of Malmortius. This is the big item. Again, I think this item is going to be very, very powerful. Yes, it costs 200 more gold now, but the passive is so much better. You get 10 extra AD. I don't know why there's such a big gap. You now build into 2 Hex Drinkers, which I think are really, really nice. So you have to remember Hex Drinker also builds into Longsword as well. So I think, again, that's very, very powerful. Hex Drinker plus 800 gold. And the new passive, so you don't have the Lifeline passive anymore, which was very weak anyway. Like, no one built this item because the Lifeline passive was very, very weak. Now, instead, it's getting the old Bloodthirster passive. And also, this works on abilities and auto attacks now. That's another change. On the beta server, it said it only worked on auto attacks. Now it's going to work on auto attacks and abilities. So 20% of the damage dealt is converted into magic shield that absorbs up to 60 to 400 magic damage. And the shield decays by 5% per second. Now, there is no cooldown on this at all. So when you're dealing damage during a team fight, every single time you deal damage, you're going to be getting a magic shield. And that magic shield will either decay over time, or it will decay if you get dealt magic damage. It's so huge for both bruisers and also AD carries when you're against magic champions. And again, as I mentioned, it's probably going to be one of the strongest items in patch 4.4. Which, by the way, is obviously already out, as I mentioned before. Morenonomicon has a plus 7% magic penetration. Obviously, the changes that happened as well to the magic... to the grievous wounds in general. You now don't deal 60% grievous wounds when champions are low on health, and the base value is no longer 40. So instead of basically dealing 40 and 60% grievous wounds, you now only just deal 50%. So basically any damage that you do to any champion, you know, magic damage, you just inflict 50% grievous wounds. You don't get an increased value anymore when champions are low on health. Yeah, that's basically it. There's no, like, if champions are at lower health than 50%, you gain 60%. It's basically just one flat 50% value now. Mortal Reminder, again, a lot of changes with Mortal Reminder. Cost is now 3,300 gold. You get a lot less attack damage, but now you get critical rate. This is going to open up a lot of builds for AD carries because now you're going to be able to get 100% crit rate with like Bloodthirster, Navori, Infinity Edge, Mortal Reminder. That's 100% crit chance, which opens up your last item to so many different opportunities. So I think it's going to be an insane item. You know, increasing the cost to 3,300 is great. The build path as well has also been updated. So you got Last Whisper, Executioner's Calling, and also an extra Brawler's Gloves because obviously now it builds from crit. They needed to add a little bit of crit in this build here. Again, I think this is going to be extremely powerful, very, very powerful item. And just having an item now that applies grievous wounds and also has crit as well is also, I think, going to be very, very powerful. That's why this is one of the most expensive items in the game, because you apply grievous wounds and you get crit and you get attack damage and you get percent armor pen. This item is like the full package of what an ADC needs. It's crazy. I love it. Nash's Tooth, the build path update. You now build from a recurve bow and also the Nash's Talon. Nisi Large Rod is a little bit more extra, a little bit of extra gold, but now it's extra AP, but now builds into 2 amplifying tomes instead of 1, which I think is very, very powerful, very, very strong. And I really like the changes that they did to both Nisi Large Rod and to Death Cap, because it felt very bad to sit on just 1 amplifying tome for 1,000 gold, and then you just get this big, massive boost of upgrade in terms of an item. But now building to 2 amplifying tomes and giving you more ability power is really, really nice. Noon Quiver has been increased in cost, but also they've given it a little bit of extra attack speed. Now it builds from a longsword and a dagger. Phage has gone down in gold, but also gone down in maximum health. Phantom Dancer, again, new build path. You build into Noon Quiver, an extra dagger, and also Brawler's Gloves. So instead of building into Zeal, which I think you did before, I think it was Noon Quiver and Zeal, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it was Noon Quiver plus 2 Brawlers. I can't remember what the build path was before, but yeah, now it's Noon Quiver, dagger, plus Brawler's Gloves. Death Cap, this is obviously the item that builds from Nisi Large Rod, 2 Nisi Large Rods. You now get only 100 ability power, and you still get the 7%, and you still get the 7% magic penetration like every other item is getting. However, they have changed the passive for Death Cap now. Death Cap is a lot weaker as a 1st or 2nd item now. It's probably only good to build Death Cap as a 3rd or 4th item now, because the old passive, it used to increase your ability power by 40% at whatever the stage of the game you build it. 1st item, 2nd item, 3rd item, doesn't matter. Now, increase the ability power by 20% to 45% based on level. Now, if you work it out, you roughly get 1.5 ability power per level, maybe a little bit more than that. So yeah, 20. So basically, if you build this 1st item, you're only getting like 25 ability power. If you build this as the 4th item or maybe 5th item, you get 45% ability power, or increased ability power, I should say. So again, a lot stronger now as a 3rd or 4th item. You don't want to build this as a 1st item or 2nd item anymore. A lot stronger as a later game item, because you can get, you know, even more ability power than before. You know, 40% before has now been increased to 45% if you build it, you know, when you're level 15, for example. Really, really nice update. Really love this. I think it opens up a lot of build opportunities for AP mages. Recurve bow, the base stats, it's gone from 900 up to 1,400 gold, which you might think is quite a lot, but now it builds from 2 daggers, and now attacks deal 15 on-hit bonus physical damage against targets, which is kind of nice. So you get basically a little bit of extra AD or a little bit of extra on-hit damage, and also it builds from 2 daggers. But the gold has been increased. Obviously, recurve bow still has the attack speed as well, so it's another item that you get attack damage and, well, kind of attack damage, on-hit damage, and attack speed as well, which is quite cool. Rift Maker, again, getting the 7% penetration being added, 7% magic penetration. Build path has also been updated. It now builds from the Hextech alternator instead of the Haunted guys like it did before, and also still feeding its Codex. Rod of Ages as well also gets the 7% magic penetration age ratio, which is quite nice. Rune's Hurricane base stats. Again, Rune's Hurricane is getting a pretty big update in the next patch. The cost from 2,800 to 2,900 gold. This item does no longer crit. It no longer has no crit chance at all. So it's no longer that good on crit champions, kind of. It's still going to work really well on crit items. And the reason being is that the passive, which it doesn't actually have here, the old passive where you spread damage still scales with crit. I believe so. Well, it should still scale with crit. I mean, I don't think anything has changed. I'm actually going to quickly check the game to see if they changed it from the beta server to the actual game itself. You might have heard the game sound there. But while that's loading up, so yeah, the item costs 2,900 gold. Obviously, it still has the attack speed as well. No longer has crit, but it now has a new build path, Nash's Talon and Recurve Bow, which we saw before what Recurve Bow now does. It has 2 new passives now, though. So now it has the Wind's Favor passive, which is the same as Nash's Tooth, where you're able to gain 30% attack damage or 60 ability power, depending if you're an AD or an AP champion. And you have the Windblade passive, which attacks deal 15 bonus physical damage on hit to targets. So this is the Recurve Bow passive, and this is then the passive from Talon Nashers. So you're getting a lot of passives with Recurve Bow, with Rune's Hurricane. A lot of passives. I'm going to quickly check in game to see if the extra bolts still scale with crit. I still think it does. Well, it's not that it scales with crit, but it's the extra damage still does more with crit. Yeah, so you still have the Wind's Fury passive, which attack strike 2 additional nearby enemies, each dealing 55% of physical damage. So again, it's probably still a physical damage item. And these strikes can quickly strike and trigger on hit effects. So yeah, the Wind's Fury passive, so the old passive is still there. It still scales with physical damage, and also you can do bonus damage with crit. So I still think it's going to be a very powerful AD item. And as I mentioned before, with you now be able to get 100% crit chance with an armor pen item, anti-heal and everything else, you can now build this as a final item for AD carries, which is going to be very, very powerful. Seraph's Embrace also has the plus 7% magic penetration ratio. Serpent's Fang has just changed. It's just like the wording a little bit has changed. I'm not too sure exactly what it is. I think you just deal more. You just have more scaling now on your shielding. So the shielding can be, the anti-shield can be increased with bonus magic attack damage now, which I think it wasn't before. The same with the ability power one with Trident. So that's just a little update with Serpent's Fang. It's still the same item, still builds from the same thing, everything else. Sheen has gone down in cost from 900 to 800, which is really, really nice. And as I mentioned before, it builds from Ring of Revelation. Steros Gauge, we've noticed that the shield decay wasn't as beneficial to players as we wanted it to be. So we've adjusted the shield decay mechanic, and now the decay is based on the current shield value rather than the maximum value. Interesting. Lifeline offlines the shield decay mechanic. When the shield is resumed partially by enemy attacks, it will not decay to 0 in advance. So it basically means now that Steros Gauge is going to be, you're going to be able to have the shield for a longer amount of time. That's the understanding that I get from this update. You're going to have the shield for a longer amount of time because Lifeline shield was basically reducing too quickly. Because now it decays of now based off current shield value rather than maximum shield value. So before, if it was maximum shield value, it would decay very, very quickly. Because say you have like half the shielding and it decays based on maximum shield value, that half the shield is going to go quickly, go like instantly. But now it's going to be based on current shield values. Now it's going to be going down a lot less than before, which is quite nice. Nice little buff there to Steros Gauge. Thormail, again, the Grievous Wounds is changing. Again, you don't get any extra Grievous Wounds now from mobilizing enemy champions up to 60%. You now just inflict 60. Oh, wait, is this inflicting 60%? Wait, that means that this is now different to everything else. No, it's 50%. This is wrong. This is 50%. I was going to say, why is it saying 60%? This is 50%. This is wrong, by the way. This is 50%. It's the same with Mortal Reminder and also Marine Anomalicon, where instead of having 40% and 60%, it's now 50% flat value. This is wrong. This is 50% or 60%. But again, yeah, same thing. You can't immobilize champions and now apply more Grievous Wounds, which I don't think changes too much, because now you'll be able to inflict more Grievous Wounds when enemy champions are auto-attacking you. I still think it's going to be okay. A few more. Zeal. The cost has gone from 1,300 to 1,400, but the crit chance has been increased. Now builds from Brawler's Gloves and Dagger, plus 400 gold. And then you have the removed items, Banshees, Lord Dominic's Regards, Rapid Fire Cannon, Status Shiv, Void Amethyst, and Void Star. So you don't need to build Lord Dominic's Regards anymore. You just build straight into Mortal Reminder. Great, fantastic. Awesome. That is everything with the item updates. With the rune changes, there's no rune changes at all. The only thing is that they're adding in that rune feature. Again, I did another video on this where basically now in the game, you can see what stats you're getting from the rune. So you can see how much bonus damage you're dealing with Kraken Slayer, or how much true damage you're getting with Kraken Slayer, how much HP you're getting with Overgrowth, how much AP you're getting from Gathering Storm, things like that. You can check all of that in the game now, and also you can check all of that after game, which is awesome. System changes. Obviously, we've got the new dragon update coming this patch. So when a team kills 3 dragons successfully, they will now gain a bonus Dragon Soul buff, which grants a new bonus effect. The element of the Dragon Soul buff is the same as the first dragon that spawns, which is the one that changes the environment of the map. So say, for example, the first dragon is Infernal, you're going to get the Infernal map, so all the terrain and everything is going to be burned down. And also, if you get 3 dragons, you're going to get Infernal Soul. Now, you have to bear in mind that if one team takes 2 dragons and if another team takes 1 dragon, then there will be no Dragon Soul in the game. You know, you can see here, if both teams don't kill all 3 dragons in the game, the Dragon Soul buff will not be granted to any teams. This is our Dragon Soul buffs. Again, I've walked through all of this anyway. I think in order, I think Infernal Soul is probably the strongest. cause an explosion of the target's position that deals damage, and it scales with bonus attack damage and ability power, and it's only on a 5-second cooldown. I think this is very, very powerful. Mounted Soul, I don't think is that strong at all. You gain 210 Omni Attribute Shield. I've never heard of Omni Attribute Shield before, but it's basically a shield that basically you take, you can basically block damage. I don't think this is that great. Ocean Soul is okay when dealing damage to enemy champions with attacks. You generate certain health, so basically gives you more healing with your auto attacks and your abilities. And Ice Soul is quite interesting. Mark the target for 3 seconds, and when dealing damage to enemy champions with attacks or abilities, you slow them and mark them, and also deal bonus true damage equal to 10% of the damage the enemies received during the marked period. So this is basically Zed's ultimate. You basically get Zed's ultimate with Ice Dragon Soul. Plus, you can slow the enemy champions as well. So I think it's going to be very powerful. Again, I think it's in order. I think it's Infernal, Ice, Ocean, Mountain. So if you see that Infernal is your first Drake, you probably want to try and go for all 3 dragons to try and get Infernal Soul, because that's a big win condition. One thing that they haven't mentioned on this, you can see here now that the buffed effect does not scale. So the buff, so before when you got 3 dragons, all the buffs scaled. So it would be 3% if you have 1 dragon on Infernal Dragon. If you have 2 dragons, so if you have Infernal Dragon and Mounted Dragon, that 3% will go up to 6%, and then 9% if you have 3. That's no longer the case. Each dragon will now have only 1 flat value. Doesn't matter how many dragons you kill. So this is going to make individual dragons a lot weaker, and a lot weaker. But if you can get up to that Dragon Soul, then it's going to be very, very powerful. But I think Rift Herald is definitely going to be the name of the game for the first objective to take in the early game. I think it's going to be very, very powerful to take. Damage to turret adjustments. In previous patches, there were some issues with damage from champions to structures. The first was that the champions with hybrid damage could not deal damage with part of their attack damage or ability power to turrets. The second issue was from champions with ability power items dealing damage to structures. The amount of damage they would deal, especially in the late stages of the game, was much higher than attack damage champions. Yes, I agree. I mean, champions like Orianna and Ari was doing more damage to towers than freaking me on ADC, like with Caitlyn or someone like that. This is insane. So he made some adjustments. Okay, cool. So before, the base attack damage from champions to structures was equal to the champion base attack damage plus bonus attack damage and 50% of your ability power. This is why it's so strong, because it was 50% of your freaking ability power. Jesus. Choose a higher value from, and it chooses a higher value from the 2. So if you're an AP champion, it just scales with base attack damage, which is not a lot, but then it's 50% ability power. That's kind of crazy. But now it's base attack damage from champions to structures equal to champion base attack damage plus your bonus attack damage plus 40% ability power. So now, isn't it just like more damage overall? So now like hybrid champions that build AD and AP is going to do a lot of damage to towers. 40% is not as big as 50%, so AP champions in general is not going to build too much, but you're going to get a little bit of extra because your champion base attack damage also comes into effect. But now you have champion base attack damage and bonus attack damage, which is going to make AD champions take towers a lot quicker now. So I can maybe see like AD champions being really strong, you know, AD siege champions like maybe Caitlyn or someone like that being very, very powerful. We'll have to see. Ghost Poro, obviously a new thing as well. Ghost Poro coming into this. Ghost Poro has 3 health and will be stunned after 3 attacks. I done a shorts on this yesterday. Ghost Poro can no longer provide vision while stunned and recovers after 1 minute. And if Ghost Poro is not stunned, it will regen health after 5 seconds, regenerating 1 health every 3 seconds. So basically, when you take down a tier 2 tower, this Ghost Poro spawns in the jungle, runs around in the jungle, you can now attack it. So if you walk into enemy jungle, if you see the Ghost Poro, you attack it 3 times, it stuns it. So it's basically out of action, so you can walk around the jungle without being worried about being seen by any vision. I think this is a really, really nice change. I think Ghost Poro is very powerful and it allowed people to play super safe, and also allowed for comeback mechanic, and it still will come back, still will able to come back from a comeback mechanic, but I still think it's kind of cool. Wow, this is new. Heal. Old. I didn't even know this was in the patch notes. Restore 60 to 242 health, yeah, to you and your most wounded nearby ally champion, and grants you both 50-20% move speed for 1 second. Yes, this effect increased to 100% to ally champions. Healing is half for champions, recently healed by effect. Yeah, so this is basically, heal was really strong on supports because the effect is increased by 100% to ally champions. To you and your most wounded ally champion, and grants 30% move speed for 1 second. Healing is half to the... Oh, they removed it! Whoa! This healing is increased. They removed it. They increased the base heal value now on AD carries, on heal, and they removed this effect is increased by 100% to ally champions. We can build heal on AD carries again. Pog. Hey, I didn't know this update. We can now build heal on AD carries again. Wait, that's huge. So the healing base value has gone up by a whopping amount, but now this effect is not increased by 100% to ally champions. It's just a flat amount. And we also gain more movement speed now. Oh, wait, that's pretty insane. Healing is half. Wait, that's so good. That's so good. Okay, I love that. I love that. Okay, nice. We can now build heal on AD carries. I didn't know this was in the update. This is really awesome. So before, you never built heal on AD carries because the effect basically didn't mean anything at all. But now you can because the effect was increased by 100%. Obviously, the base value was so low. But now you can. Insane. This is insane. I'm going to try this as well. This is awesome. Smite. When you have the spell Smite equipped, monsters' health will display the execute. Oh, this is the execute Smite. The execute Smite is not in the game. Don't worry. This is just a indicator, which will basically just help people when they need to use Smite. So basically, when you see the red indicator on the health bar, you just click Smite and then it will, you know, be able to do it. You still have to press Smite. Don't worry, it's not auto Smite. Rift Herald can be frustrating when the enemy team summons Rift Herald to attack Nexus directly. Okay, when has Rift Herald ever hit a Nexus for you? But okay, I mean, whatever. Rift Herald dies after hitting the Nexus once. Okay, I mean, I've never seen a Rift Herald hit Nexus before, to be honest with you, but okay, I guess that's the thing. In-game quality of life changes. When enemy champions are continuously attacked by a tower, the last attack will not be interrupted by distance as enemy champions exceed the attack range. Last attack will not be interrupted by distance. Maybe, is this a nerf to tower dives? So are you going to still take... Are you going to take more damage now when you're stepping outside the turret? I have no idea. This is really, really weird. Optimize the store page in-game. Okay, optimize the red buff and blue buff spawn announcer. There's now a new announcer at the chat bar when the first upgraded buff spawned. That's pretty cool. I kind of like that. Tapping a mini icon on teammates near the minimap will now share their ultimates cooldowns. Cool. Made optimizations to the scoreboards. Okay, nice quality of life changes. There's now a countdown timer as well for blue buff and red buff, which is kind of cool. Skins, we've got a bunch of new skins coming. Bimo, Count Cassadin, Spirit Blossom skins, really nice. Extra bits, is there anything interesting here? Fix the bug that caused Gwen's second ability to make her untargetable to the pouncing effect and damage of Tibbers. Okay. Fix the bug that caused the pouncing Tibbers from the recast and his ultimate to not interrupt the camouflage effect of Sender's first ability. Okay. Fix the bug that caused the recast of Thresh's first ability to be determined by enemies' Quicksilver enchants after first on hit. Okay. Fix the bug that caused the recast of Pantheon's ultimate to hit enemy champions with the ability shield, breaking the shield, but only causing half the original damage. Okay, I guess there's a buff to Pantheon. Fix the bug that caused Shyvana's second ability to consume shielding when attacking enemies with ability shield. You could consume shields on Shyvana's second ability? It's kind of busted. Okay, not anymore. Fix the bug that caused Teemo Shrooms to directly remove ability shields on enemy champions. Okay, that's kind of a big nerf, I guess, to Teemo against shield champions. Fix the bug that causes Varus' first ability be reduced by Blight Quiver from his attacks to targets with ability shields is not detonated by the first ability on hit. Okay. Fix the bug that caused Urgot's ultimate to make the enemy champion name above the health bar disappear. Okay. Fix the bug that caused Warwick's first ability cooldown to not be reduced after killing minions. Okay, that's pretty big buff to Warwick in the lane. Fix the bug that caused Vladimir's attack to disappear in front of the spawn platform, causing it to not hit enemy champions. Okay. Fix the bug that caused the assist to not be countered when Vladimir's ultimate hits Sion and Sion is killed by a turret. Okay, that's a very rare bug, I guess. Fix the bug that caused Set's second ability to have inconsistent display range. And fix the bug that causes Morgana's movement to be frozen after using her ultimate. Cool. That's everything, chat. It still took me a long time to go through all the patch notes, but I still want to go through it all. But yeah, that's everything. Remember, this patch is in-game already. You can update the app on the App Store. You can update the game on the App Store, and you can have all these updates in-game right now. But really excited for some of these changes. I think 2v2 mode is going to be great. Fiddlesticks is going to be awesome. Obviously, new rank season and a bunch of nice quality of life changes. And also all the new items, which are very, very exciting. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this patch rundown. Again, as I mentioned, please make sure you update the game. It's already in game. It's already out. Make sure you go ahead. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe to the channel for more Wild Rift content. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Peace.